Well, I'm running it and you're in good time, Stoke.
Jim Schick, what is the official view of the Hawk Board of people who deal in stolen birds of prey and their eggs?
I think we feel that they let us down very badly. I mean, they let the sport down and they let themselves down, but we've got no time whatsoever for people who are going to break the law. There is no necessity for it. We're self-sufficient in birds of prey now, breeding all our own captive birds, and it is totally unnecessary. It's normally perpetrated for sheer greed motives.
Well, if you're that strongly against it, why censure the man who worked with us to expose people who do what you disapprove of?
Very good point. We disagree with all illegalities as far as birds of prey are concerned. We don't condone people who steal birds of prey, and on the same token, we won't condone anyone who encourages others to do just that.
Well, if that's what you're suggesting we did, you're absolutely wrong, because the birds we acquired were in the system, as it were, before we decided to make the program. Nobody was encouraged to steal on our account, and in fact, nobody was made to do anything they didn't want to do. Everything was as a result of an offer, not us saying, will you do it?
Well, we have evidence, documentary evidence, and there is at least one sworn police statement which says that a substantial sum of money was offered as an inducement to take birds of prey from the wild. Now, we are very against that, and we consider if that has happened, then that is attracting just as much guilt as the person who actually takes the birds.
Nobody offered a substantial sum of money. We simply asked people, a number of people, could they supply birds from the wild? If they said no, that was the end of it. If they said yes, and indeed if they rang up and offered, as Mr. Smith did, then we went ahead with it. That is not encouraging people.
If they made offers of birds of prey from the wild, we soundly condemn everyone, as I said earlier, that takes birds of prey from the wild, for whatever reason. Even if they are offered large inducements, there is still no excuse for actually taking birds from the wild. That I freely admit. What I am concerned about is that these cases which you have highlighted actually run the full gambit of the law, and that it is not just left in abeyance, because that doesn't help any of us. That causes enormous problems. If cases are highlighted, trial by television, as it's known, is not a particularly efficient system. It's not looked on very well by the courts. It means then that someone else may not be able to finish off the job which you actually started.
I think you'll find that these particular cases will be taken up fairly swiftly, and that before we came along, nobody had ever gone down this particular road. I mean, we only started when we were successful at filming the theft of some eggs from a crag in Scotland. Nobody had ever done that before. Now, we didn't tell the man to go and steal it.
No.
We were simply told this is an egg that, this is a nest that had been robbed every year for a decade. So
Absolutely.
we waited until it was robbed.
And we'll be very supportive of anyone bringing prosecutions against anyone breaking the law with birds of prey. That's a full stop statement. We're very happy to see these people prosecuted. But the emphasis is on prosecution, not on making spectacular television. That it has to go the full weight of the law behind it,
I think
not stopped.
I think you'll find it will. But the problem is, as we were saying before, unless we had taken an interest, and as you probably know, we've got a track record of taking an interest in green and animal stories. The trade in exotic birds, for example, from Guyana, which we highlighted in the year before last, has been stopped now by the Guyanese as a result of the program. So you mustn't dismiss television as not achieving any results.
No, we don't dismiss you as not achieving results. All we're saying is that this sort of program is an excellent idea. It would be just as good if it were filmed and if the film was screened after a successful prosecution. It would not detract from the film. It would actually make sure that none of the evidence that you've collected is prejudiced.
I don't think you'll find the evidence is prejudiced. It's all been done in front of vets and witnesses and people from the RSPB.
That's good. I'm very delighted. If as you're suggesting, these cases are going to be taken to the court and the people who are going to prosecute it, absolutely great. We're very pleased indeed about it. We are not happy if people have been wandering around making offers for birds and encouraging people to steal birds from the wild. That we don't support.
Well, those who've been doing it might well put that kind of story about. Indeed, we've had a lot of disinformation put about by Mr. Kenneth Smith, one of the subjects of our interest, who was a member of the Hawk Board at one stage.
He was. He isn't any longer, and he didn't stand for election at this latest election. He was, in the previous term of office, a member of the Hawk Board. You're quite correct. Yeah.
This time round, he provided via an infamous intermediary, Mr. Martello, the long record of dealing with illegal birds, 2 peregrine chicks, which were not in particularly good condition. Now, he lied to either the DOE or to us. He said, unencouraged on a number of occasions, these are wild birds. He had previously said to the DOE that he'd bred them, and they were sisters. We had when we bought them, they were DNA tested. They are not sisters. There's no way they're sisters. So he lied to the DOE. So he's lied either to us in order to get the sale when he thought we were Arabs, or he's lied to the DOE in order to make money. He also said that he has been telling others, apparently, that he's probably off the hook because the rings were cut off the birds. They weren't. We've still got them. Well, that's the kind of person we've been dealing with. Now, this is a man who has great skill with the birds, but has overstepped the mark. What do you think of somebody like him?
I can only reiterate what I said earlier. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter how great their skill is with the birds. If they have taken birds illegally and they have committed offences against the Wildlife and Countryside Act or any other relevant piece of legislation concerning birds of prey, we would hope and indeed be very happy to see them prosecuted and the full weight of the law brought to bear on them.
And they'd be straight out the door of the Hawk Board if they were members.
Well, they're not, so it's not a point in question, but yes, indeed, they would. Yes, indeed. I mean, this has happened in the past. It has happened with other people, as you probably know, and they immediately were expelled from the Hawk Board.
Can I pick you up on something you said before? You said, and I agree with you, and I believe you, there is no necessity to take them from the wild. Why then are people taking such risks to do exactly that?
She agreed. I don't think there's any other motive that you need to look any further for. It's the same as people shoplifting, it's the same as and very often, you will know from past experience, shoplifters have quite substantial sums of money in their pocket. It's sheer greed. That's what it's about. And they're lining their pockets at the expense of everyone. And it's a totally irresponsible thing to do.
We put up as our bait, as it were, an Arab on the basis that, is that worrying you, Peter? Worrying me?
No, no problem.
It's a Stuka duck, fellas.
Now you're right.
Pick it up any time you like.
Okay, all right. Oh, now come on, Pete.
Not a problem, Walter. You're on personal mic, but not a problem.
The guy's hovering above.
Can't even hear it on the
Okay, all right, let's go then. I'll rephrase it slightly anyway.
Okay, right.
But if the average price fetched for a good bird in this country is under £500 for a peregrine, how can you make money out of that?
I don't know, I don't do it. You tell me.
So the theory that we took up, that the market is the Gulf, where birds will fetch £15,000, £20,000, seemed to us the right one to follow, and certainly people like Martello fell for it, hook, line and sinker.
That may be so, but you also know now that that is not the market, because you spent a lot of time looking for a contact out there and singularly failed to find one.
No, we spent a lot of time in one part of the Gulf.
Right. Well, you will also have known...
And we met a particular person in whose interest it was for us not to find a contact. But we have had success in uncovering a market in another part of the Gulf.
Well, I'm really delighted.
But that's the only place the money could come from, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
Well, where's the rest of the money?
I don't know. I mean, this is the thing that we would be very happy for you to provide us with this information, because with your resources and the amount of time you've spent on it, no doubt you now know where all these birds are going. You see, we don't. And it's always suggested that there is a mysterious Arab in the background. Now, those of us who have anything at all to do with Arab hawking will know jolly well that the Arabs are interested in Saker falcons primarily, and they're interested in Jura falcons, and their interest in peregrines is very small indeed, and certainly not in ice peregrines, and certainly not in ice peregrines at this time of the year, because you will know from the research you've undertaken that their hawking season doesn't start until October, and young ice peregrines, unlike wine, do not improve with keeping. And so, consequently, I believe you're barking entirely up the wrong tree, and so do the Arabs. who incidentally are very annoyed about the fact that they're continually getting the blame for being the bad guys in this thing. We've not a shred of evidence, and no one else has ever provided a shred of evidence to suggest that large numbers of peregrines are going to the Arabian Peninsula.
We're not suggesting large numbers are going, but it is a fact, and the shipping records show that some of them go via Pakistan, where they are described then as some